A deal dissection. This is our first deal dissection that Joe and I are doing together. This is a real life deal for a safe house. Remember, these are houses that get you $200,000, how to turn 200K into $100,000 a month forever in passive income. It takes 10 to 15 years. That's the bad news. Good news is you don't have to do anything. This is a real life deal dissection. We're going to break down on an actual deal how to get 19% return ROI. We've made hundreds of videos of real life deals because so many people are like, oh, those deals don't really exist. They do exist. They're on the real world. You're going to see one right now. So you ready, Joe?
Yes, yes.
Okay, let's
So
talk.
we're gonna I'm gonna break it down. I'm gonna do this deal in two different ways. I'm gonna do it with a leveraged return and a versus a no leverage return. So an all cash deal. The guy that we sold this to bought it with all cash because he wanted he was getting close to retirement and he wanted
Our
to have
hero, yeah. Our hero,
income,
yeah.
yeah, right away. And by paying cash for it, he gets money for it. He doesn't have to wait for anything. He'll start getting money the first month into the deal. So he'll start getting a return and he'll start getting a dividend that he can spend and use for his retirement. So that's what I'm going to show you first. And then I'm going to show you what would happen if he had leveraged that return and how that would impact the investment and how it would increase his return on investment. This property, and we'll throw up some pictures here, but this
To be
property,
clear, we're talking about alone versus not alone. Yeah.
excuse me.
You're talking about alone versus not alone. When you say leverage versus non-leverage, right?
Absolutely. So the
Yeah.
difference between leverage versus not leverage is one is you go out and get a mortgage on it. The other one you're paying cash for.
Yeah.
So when you leverage your investment, that means you put smaller down payment down, and you leverage the amount of stuff that you can buy. All right, so non-leveraged investment. Let's break this one down. On a purchase price of $155,000, we got the seller to pay $5,000 towards the buyer's costs to purchase. The seller paid prorated taxes also of about $3,400, so they paid the previous year of taxes. The buyer closed. They came to closing with $151,997. So about $152,000 is what they actually paid for the property out of pocket. That's the amount that they've got out. But we're going to go with this 155,000 as though they paid for that. So in this case, this property is going to rent for about $1,500 a month. So from that income, subtract your taxes, your insurance, your property management. Taxes are about 180, insurance about 50, property manager is about 150. So your total expenses on this property monthly are going to be $380. Okay, so total expenses are going to be $380 per month. That leaves a positive cash flow of $1,120 per month. You multiply that by 12 months, that's $13,440 per year net operating income, NOI. So that's a 8.67% cash on cash return of his $155,000 cash investment. But monthly cash flow isn't the only income this investment's going to receive. And 8.67 for most people in a passive investment is pretty darn good. I mean,
Immediately.
where are you going to get 8.67%? And that's just the cash on cash return. I'm going to get into the other income sources promoting this property on top of that. You also get depreciation. I've explained depreciation in my other videos, so I'll just say here that it works out to about 1% of actual cash return on the purchase price of the home. So if you're paying all cash, it's giving you a 1% increase in your annual return on investment. You're also going to get appreciation on your investment. Even though the IRS allows you to depreciate the value of the property, it's actually going up in value every month. So, as I mentioned before, over the past 30 years, property values have increased in Indianapolis by over 300%. That's more than 100% every 10 years. And that's even in, figuring in that 2008 crash that we had. So historically, the value on your long-term investment property, doubles every 10 years. So, 100% divided by 10 years, that's 10% a year. So this adds about 10% to your annual net return on investment every year. So that puts your annual return on an all cash purchase on this particular property at 8.67 is the cash on cash return. That's the rent income, the 1% IRS, tax depreciation, and then the 10% per year appreciation in value. So that's a total of 19.67% return on this cash investment. And this is if you pay all cash. So
Yeah.
if you leverage the deal
Right.
and you only put 20% down, you can buy 4 times as many properties and your returns almost triple. So let's do that next. Let's look at the annual return on investment when you leverage and make payments on a mortgage. And here's the formula for calculating the ROI, the return on investment on a leveraged investment. It's ROI equals net profit divided by the total investment times 100. So you take the $155,000 house. Here's the numbers. The total cash investment is calculated as follows. You add $31,000. That's the 20% down payment on that 155 plus $8,500. That's closing costs approximately. And that equals 39,500 as your total cash investment. Now, your total net profit is calculated $15,500. That's your 10% annual appreciation. You get another $1,500 from depreciation. That's that 1%. Plus you get $1,200 annual buy down on your mortgage every year. Plus you get $900 a year on your rising annual rent. Every year it's going to go up about $900 on the annual rent that's going to keep increasing every year. Plus you're going to have $900 a month positive cash flow after you pay your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, and your debt service. So that total net profit is calculated at $20,000 even. So let's subtract some possible costs that you might have, by owning this property. Let's say you've got 3% vacancy, and that's about average on my vacancy. It could go higher, it could go lower. But on this one, 3% vacancy is $540 annually. So $1,500 rents times 3% times 12. So that's 540 plus $900 of potential repairs needed. That's 5% of the income. So 1,500 times 5% times 12 equals $900. So those are possible costs that you might have going into the deal. So figure out your net annual profit, $20,000 net annual profit before your possible costs. And then you minus the vacancy and the repairs, that 540 plus the 900, and that leaves you with $18,560 of net annual profit. So now you plug that into your calculation to figure your return. 18,560 net annual profit divided by the money you invested, the 39,500 total investment. You multiply that by 100, and that equals 46.99%. So your return on investment is 46.99%. I mean, that's that's not believable, right?
Yeah.
That's insane. I mean,
Right.
and maybe, maybe we're getting too generous with appreciation. Properties have appreciated 10% on average every year for the last 30 years in Indianapolis. So, it looks pretty solid to me, but let's suppose it doesn't appreciate at all. That would reduce our net annual profit, by 15,500. So it'd go from 18,560 down to $3,060. So that's a lot less amazing a return, right? So 3,060 net annual profit divided by the amount you invested, 39,500 times 100, that's 7.75% return. So 7.75% return. And That's your cash on cash return and that's in the first year. That's before your rents start increasing because they're going to go up and that return is going to go up with it. But still, that would be the return if you had no appreciation at all. And you can't count on appreciation, but you can count on rents coming in and paying off your mortgage and giving you income. So over the past 30 years, it tells us that it's going to appreciate. But if it doesn't, for whatever terrible reason you want to imagine, you still have a decent return on your cash investment on this one property. Now, it's not great compared to what we're used to in real estate, but compared to stocks, bonds, mutual funds, REITs, virtually every other type of passive investment out there, it's pretty competitive. And if the worst doesn't happen, you get almost 47% cash return, on your investment in 1 year. 1 year, 40%, 47% return. So why are we getting these, amazing returns? You want to talk about leverage, Azam?
Yeah, sure. I saw you got your note here. One thing I want to cover about this is that we're talking about numbers that when we talk, like when we use Carmel, it's an example of the rents. The Carmel rents basically were broke. They didn't move at all for like 15 years. So if you're buying in Carmel, and you're thinking, oh, I didn't make any money. It's like basically $1,500 a month. But then from 2015 or 2017 to 2022, it more than doubled. So within that price range, because my uncle, we have many properties there that rented for $1,500 a month for basically forever. Now they're going for like $3,300 a month. But in 2016, 2015, you could have got those for $1,500. So these numbers that we're talking about, the market is going to do what the market wants to do. And it has no obligation to fit our numbers here that we're talking about 10% a year. But over time, we can pretty much say with near 100% certainty, this is what's going to happen over time. It may not be 1%, 2%, 3% every year. You may not go back to your tenants and hike up the rent every year. Not the way. That's not the way it works. But over time, you're going to reach these kinds of numbers as long as you wait. And we talk about leverage. Yeah, when we talk about one word, this comes down to is leverage. That's the one thing. It's beautiful real estate leverage. You can do this you can't have this massive leverage with stocks. You can buy stocks with leverage, but if you want to have it compound, you have to receive some of that money back. And when we're talking about $20,000 or $40,000 per property, we're using $200,000, you're buying 5 properties. So but when you put 20% down or 25% down, you're getting immediately 4 times the leverage. You're getting 4 times the equity, 4 times the cash flow, 4 times the buying power, 4 times the ROI, 4 times the profits, because you're using that same money, but you're distributing it around different assets and collecting more equity. When you have 20% down on a property, you buy 5 times as much property for the same money. Even if you figure in the cost of the money, closing costs, you can still buy 4 times as many properties. Thus, 4 times the leverage, you buy 4 times the amount of property. You get income and appreciation on 4 times as much property. Remember, passive income is equity times production. So the more equity we can collect, the less production we need to hit our 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 grand. So in this case, 150 grand, 155,000 times 4 houses is $620,000 in value. Remember, the tenant is paying the mortgage for you. The property manager watches out for your asset. You pay off your loan, enjoy the appreciation and income. So with that being said, the big question you should be asking is, how fast will the tenant pay off the mortgage that I have? How long will I have to wait before I start getting that monthly income? If your mortgage is being paid by the tenant on a 30-year mortgage, how long will it take to pay off that mortgage? A 30-year mortgage is going to take 30 years to pay off, generally, right? Well, if you have an 80% mortgage on a $155,000 property, 124K, at 9.5% interest, amortized over 30 years, your P&I, principal and interest, will be about 1034. The taxes on this property are 180 a month, insurance 50 a month, property management 150 a month. So your total expenses are 1414. That leaves you with $86 a month to apply towards your principal. If you don't need any money to the payment from your pocket, if you don't put any money from the payment to your pocket, that's just $86 a month. That 30-year mortgage will be paid off in about 20 years. You cut off 10 years, you cut off a full decade. It shouldn't have to take 20 years. We can still bring it down without putting any money from your own pocket. Your property manager will increase rents by 5% a year automatically, assuming you have a good property manager with safe house policies like we've talked about. So $1,500 goes to $1,575 in 1 year, $1,625 that first year after, $1,700, and so on. And like I said earlier, maybe it's not going to be every year, but overall, that's what should happen. If you increase your monthly payment on the loan over time, just from the increase in rent, without taking anything out of your pocket, you pay off your loan in about 12 years. And you can do the math yourself. Just Google appreciation calculator and punch in 5% appreciation over 10 years. It jumps the rents from $1,500 to $2,693, $2,693 per month over 12 years. That means when you pay off your loan, you will have a monthly net income after expenses of over $2,000. But you want to do it even faster than 12 years. This is what we built into our Safe House algorithm. One of the things to keep in mind, again, Safe House is $1,000 a month, and then it doubles every 10 to 15 years on average. So it's $2,000 a month. So here's how we use our algorithm. We're going to sell your property on a lease option buyer, and they're going to pay more for your property and pay off your loan faster. Lease option buyers are the best in so many ways. Remember I said, and Joe said this earlier, that they consider themselves owners rather than renters. We make them the buyers, so it makes them more likely to take care of the property. It also makes them responsible for the repairs of the property. It's all in our rather brilliant contract. We'll raise the price when we sell the house, so there's a profit there's an immediate profit because we sell it for a higher price. Whenever we sell on terms, we can sell it for a higher price. And then the buyer will pay a non-refundable lease option fee, half in cash, which goes to cover the cost of finding, qualifying, assisting the buyer, and half in payments from the buyer, which goes to you directly, so you can pay it on your loan and build your equity faster. That should add an additional $200 to $300 a month of income that we paid monthly by the buyer as the down payment assistance. This is paid in addition to the rent, so they're financing the down payment, and you're getting that every month as well. So if you add that $200 a month to your payment, your 30-year loan will pay off in about 9 years. Hopefully you're starting to see how powerful an investment it is when you structure it this way and use our Safe House algorithm, right? So on top of paying off the loan, your property historically has nearly doubled in that period of time. So you'll receive another $155,000 or so of equity on top of the money that you use to pay off the loan. If appreciation continues this way, and if it continues the way it has for the last 30 years, this is 30 to 50 years generally, about 10% a year, which is actually quicker. It's going to be about 7.2 years, but we're using 10 years to say that it would double. There's other ways to pay off your mortgage even faster. We're going to talk about those in future videos, mortgage acceleration, velocity banking, stuff like that. But this guaranteed method is already built into our system using the 5 proprietary Safe House pillars, as we talked about in our main video. You don't have to do anything to make it happen. We do it all for you. So you, our hero, potential hero, investor, pays cash for the property because you want that income now. In this case, that's what the hero did. But even if you didn't, if you leveraged it, you'd still have a lot of great benefits. Or instead of using all cash, if you leveraged it, you could buy 4 properties like this, and the exact same investment jumps. Your ROI goes from 19.67 to 47% return. These numbers may be mind-blowing, but it's just math. And it's important to understand that it's just math. And we've talked about this before in many of our videos. These real life deal dissections, though, because probably the most common question that I've gotten, and does this work in my area, are these real life deals? Our deal dissection, we've done hundreds of deals, hundreds of videos just like this. You can see these principles that we talk about in the abstract, but you can see it applied to a real property. These are real properties. You can see these numbers that are actually in the real world. So we're selling this property on a lease option. Here are the numbers: $153,000 that it was purchased for. We're selling it on a lease option for $175K. It's $1,550 per month. $240 per month down payment assistance. So think that this is a good stuff, man. Just note here.
You think that math can't get you excited, but boy, when you start looking at this, that math gets me excited. But even as I was breaking it down, I was thinking, man, why didn't I buy more?
Yeah.
I think the biggest regret most successful real estate investors have is, why didn't I buy more?
Yeah. It's interesting when we look at like you look in the background, the things you have that are all behind you, the things that I have right behind me, like the things that are like what we're going to do later today, your car, your house, your clothes, that, everything you have, it's paid for one of two ways. It's either money that you have to go out and get today, or it's money that you got passively from stuff that you that you did maybe years and years and years ago. And the reason why this math, if you're not excited hearing this math, it could be because of us, the way we're presenting it, that's one thing. But aside from that, it's because you don't understand really what this means. This is how you set yourself up forever money. This is how you don't need to do anything, and you have passive money. You have equity times production that puts you in this category where you're irreversibly in the 1%. You're making 30 grand a month, and there's no feasible way that you or your generations from now will ever be knocked outside of that. You will always be there, and you'll be there forever. And this is what this math does. This is what these acquiring assets and building equity up, building yourself up. Joe mentioned this before too. He's been knocked off. I have too. I've lost everything overnight. You know, my house got raided by the popo, and I've known Joe since I was 17, by the way. And I actually had that conversation with Joe. We were talking about that. It's like almost exactly 20 years ago where I met him. I was like, hey, my house just got raided. I lost all my money. I have no money. My money's frozen. Like these aren't like I know people, everyone has a sob story. In my case, it wasn't like, you know, don't cry for me, Argentina type stuff. Like I got back on track like in a couple of days, but I had zero, my bank accounts were frozen. I was all over the news. I had no money at all. And when that happens to you, you realize that you want to build something that no one can take away, that no matter what happens, I don't need anyone to like me. I don't need anyone, not that, I mean, I want you guys to like me too, but like, I don't need anyone, like, I don't have to go to a resume or go to job interviews. I want to have 50 grand a month, 100 grand a month, that no matter what is there forever. And this is the way to build it. I know I'm going past our answer, but I mean, that's why it's so exciting, because you build it this way and it's our forever fund. You will have forever money. It's exciting stuff.
And there's something also that's terribly exciting to add on to this, which is taxes. You know, something you don't
Oh
think,
yeah. Yeah.
but all this money that you're making through this investment, there's no tax hit. You
Yeah.
know, you don't have you can pull money out of a property using a loan, and you won't have to pay capital gains on that property on that sale. Now you got to pay money on the income tax, income that's coming in, the net income that you keep. But there's so many wonderful tax benefits to owning that property. And if you wanted to pull, if let's say you get that thing paid off after 12 years, and now you've got a free and clear asset that's worth $300,000, and suddenly another opportunity comes that you need $300,000 for. You pull that money out of this property, you refinance it, and you can pull all that out. You can keep the property, and let it continue to make income. In the meantime, you can take this other money and put it into another project, and you can build on that. And that's a beautiful thing. Or if you just want to pull that money out to live on it, and you can do that, and then you can have the tenants continue to pay the rent and pay that loan off for you, so that in another 15 years or 10 years, it'll be paid off again. And
Yeah.
then you can do it again after that.
Yeah, and the other thing is when you have this portfolio and people know that you do, you automatically have more credibility in your conversation. So if you want to buy a business, we do a lot of deals where we teach how to trade real estate for companies. And it's you don't even need to refinance it necessarily. But if you want to buy somebody's company, you can use a property without ever leveraging it or without actually borrowing against it, but just using it as collateral for more equity and business deals. And people come to you with opportunities when they know that you have a bunch of property and that you have a bunch of access to cash and that you can pull this kind of money out. They'll come to you. You want business deals to come to you. You want opportunities to come to you. You want business brokers bringing you companies that you can buy zero down. Be in a position where you own real estate. And because everybody wants to get in real estate, everybody wants to be invested in real estate. By the way, why should you listen to us? Joe and I have been doing this collectively 50 years, on our team over 100 years. We have the number one reason you should listen to us are the outcomes. We have more success stories of people going from 10, 20, 30, 100 grand a month and beyond. This program is about how to turn 200K into 100K a month passive forever. So check out that link below for more on that. And this is one of the many deal dissections that we have going on. So we should probably end it there then. Joe, anything else to add?
I think I'm good.
Okay. So guys, thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Thanks.